Good morning, everybody. I'm here today with the awesome Jasper Clifford-Smith. And
Hi.
first of all, I'd love to introduce you very quickly, mate, because Jasper's a very smart guy. And Jasper has a master's degree in business. He's also a strategic marketer and just a top bloke. So he's working very hard to make tech decisions easier for small businesses. And I'd love to introduce him. Here he is. It's Jasper Clifford-Smith. Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Very welcome.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so this is just a really nice and casual open interview. We're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also YouTube. So,
Oh, wow, cool.
yeah, got plenty of platforms here. And of course, for anybody watching, feel free to ask us a question. We'll pop it up on screen and we'll love to respond to you. So it sounds good, Jasper.
Perfect.
First of all, mate, I'd love to hear what you're up to today and what your business is.
Okay, so yeah, my business is IntegraStack. We are a business intelligence platform focusing on technology. The idea sort of came from hearing all these nightmare stories about businesses taking on the wrong software, and that software was like poorly implemented, or they bought it because they were sold it and not because they really needed it. And I just thought, well, there has to be a better way. So I started looking into how businesses make these software decisions. And, it's either through consultants that have their own sort of vendor relationships and biases, through review platforms, which have, they're full of affiliate links and, they're sort of pay to play, or Google. So the vendors that have the biggest SEM budgets generally win. Or now like ChatGPT as well, which doesn't really have the context of your business and how other businesses like yours interact with software. So I thought, well, there's a gap here. So we started working on IntegraStack probably October last year. We released an alpha, which is a very sort of simple version of what the platform is ultimately going to be. That's focused on cybersecurity solutions. We released that back in May. That's been a really, really amazing experience because we're doing something pretty new. When we've had people actually using our alpha version, the feedback has just been incredible in terms of improving what we actually do and like the actual product.
I have to say too, I actually used your alpha.
Yeah, you were one of the early ones.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Great product. And so it was probably, how many questions was it? Maybe 15 to 20?
Yeah, so it's like 55 now.
55? They weren't too hard to answer. As a tech guy, I kind of breezed through it, but I could understand too. It was all very clearly written out. And the report I got at the end was actually fantastic because, I was kind of expecting to go, what can you teach me? Being an IT guy. But I was surprised. And there were different perspectives in there. And I just loved the angle that you took to be able to give me that non-biased review as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, and thanks for that. Like, and like the best thing about that was I think you may have been like, I don't know, the 5th person or something that actually got a report from us. And like hearing your feedback and the feedback of everybody who's done it before you and since has just been like crucial in terms of how we've actually been able to mature even just the alpha product. The alpha product is very simple. It's a type form survey which we're matching up with our sort of proprietary scoring logic to create a report. Our MVP, which will be out, sometime in early August, is like going to be a fully coded app, and we'll have a lot more logic to it, a lot more features. But ultimately, like what you did was sort of a diagnostic thing where like you actually gave us a lot of the context of your business and what you're working with, and your business environment, and we could kind of take that information and then go, okay, well, it looks like, you might benefit from this, or you should leave things the way they are in this sense. We realized pretty early on that just recommending software is not where our users find the most benefit. What they want to know is how they can make their operations better from a technical perspective. And that's what we're doing. We've included operational tips. We're giving people actionable steps, like non-technical people, actionable steps to make their cybersecurity stronger. We will be scaling across the entire business tech stack too. So that's more of a watch this space type situation.
In development.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big job. Being able to create, scoring logic and, back-end systems and things like that to make that happen in an efficient way. But, that's what we're doing.
Oh, I love your work, Jasper. And I can tell you're working very hard to try and make this a better decision-making process for small businesses. So I think it's awesome. And I want to ask you sort of how the process works. But before then, because you've touched on it already, part of your philosophy is about being vendor agnostic and being very non-biased. So I'd love to know, what was the initial thought that made you want to start IntegriStack? What's the origin stories behind this?
Well, it was like this weird, fortuitous moment. I finished my MBA at the end of last year, and one of my last subjects was digital entrepreneurship. And, I was doing an assignment for that. And just as I was sort of thinking about what I was going to do it on, I was attending a conference with my previous employer. And, there was this situation where we had really good merch at our booth. And there's a competitor at this conference, and their merch wasn't very good. And every time somebody wanted some of our merch, they had to scan a QR code and they would become a lead. And, we're talking pretty serious software that is used by CFOs and financial teams. And, if you get that wrong, you could be kind of making a major mistake, which could cost a lot of money. And I just thought, we're going to have the opportunity to sell to these CFOs because of this merch that we got, which was better than these guys over here. And how do they know that our competitor's solution isn't going to fit their landscape better and isn't going to make their operations better? And so I just sort of started becoming low-key kind of obsessed with the problem. And then I started looking into it with this assignment. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for this digital entrepreneurship assignment. I started looking into the figures, in relation to poorly implemented technology, poorly adopted technology, tech debt, things like that. And, people needing to be retrained on software that they ultimately don't end up using properly anyway, and all this kind of thing. And it's $550 billion a year and globally is wasted on this. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to fix it.
Big market to address.
Yeah.
Smart man. And so I want to clarify the problem. It was that the buying influence through the marketing channels actually led to a poorer outcome to the consumer. Is that a problem that you've saw in that case?
That's pretty much what I've found. The channels in which people do research into buying software, they are riddled with bias, really. And so I was like, well, if I am going to address this problem properly, it has to be completely vendor neutral. We can't have commercial relationships with any software vendors, or else it's just not going to work. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we'll always do,
And perfect segue. So how does it work? If I was a business owner and I wanted to give it a crack, see what you guys can do for me. What's the first step, and then what's the process along the way?
All right. Well, you would go to www.integrastack.ai. Then you would go into the product. At the moment, we've got our founders report, which is for founding IntegraStack users. And then you would complete the business context and tech context survey. Take you about 10-15 minutes to do. And then we will get back to you we say within 48 hours. It's normally like 1 or 2 hours with a full report. So basically the report will tell you, at the moment it's just cybersecurity, but the report will tell you, what we've noticed is sort of missing from your cybersecurity operations, what tools might help you improve them, what steps, like what operational steps you could be taking to make things better without actually paying any money. And it sort of tells, like, we then sort of repeat back to you, everything that you've told us, but in a sort of contextual way. What we want to do is we want to provide like a consultant's level report without the bias of a consultant.
Awesome. So then once I've filled out that form, you'll then send it back to me. I'll have a read through it. And then is there a chance for me to then evaluate that back with you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we have like a feedback form, which is linked in the report, in the PDF. I also really, really, really love talking to like these early users of our product because they're the ones who shape it. We'll never find true sort of product market fit if we don't listen to people. And that's something I'm obsessed with. I'm constantly on LinkedIn, trying to get like random strangers to, fill in surveys and have interviews and things like that. I'm obsessed with talking to our market because that's the only way that we're going to be able to help them ultimately. So, what you would do is you would get your report. At the moment, it's a PDF, like it's a one-off payment at the moment. It's not a subscription or anything yet. And you get your PDF, and then you can choose to do the things that we recommend or not. But,
And so it's also the first stage of this is cybersecurity. You've shared your vision in being able to help people make decisions across their broader business. But starting in cybersecurity is really interesting. So would you like to talk about why you chose that as the first place?
Well, I think like my domain knowledge was probably, because of my previous job, it's probably closer to like accounting and audit software. But, I did sign a non-compete clause in my contract. So I thought I'm not going to get into that world yet.
Yep. Look elsewhere first.
Yeah. And then I thought, well, what's the software vertical that is most relevant to the most amount of businesses? If I'm going to stress test this idea on the most amount of businesses that I can, what do they all need? And it's cybersecurity. And so I just thought, all right, well, we'll do cybersecurity then. And that's how it happened. Thankfully, we have like a really amazing IT consultant who's part of our team, who actually knows a lot about cybersecurity and has helped us build our sort of scoring criteria. But that's how it happened. That's why we chose cybersecurity, because it's relevant.
Yeah, and I love that you just took a business first approach to that too. I see lots of people who get into business because they're experts at what they do, and then they build the business around it. But I love that you've got the business smarts to then evaluate the entire landscape and where your entry point is there as well. So would you like to also talk about, I guess, how your knowledge and experience across the broader business landscape helps you, first of all, shape the product and assist the business owners to make more effective decisions?
Well, I mean, like a bit of context about me. I've spent like most of my like working life either as a freelancer or in like working in small businesses. And I know that people are too busy running their businesses to actually oftentimes do things properly that are outside their level of expertise. And so then big gaps emerge and things go wrong. And I'm just sort of always kind of been about like, all right, well, how am I going to help these people so they could get back to what they're actually good at and what they actually want to do, you know? I don't know if that answers your question, but, you know, that's kind of, that is my driving motivation with anything that I do. Like, you know, I'm working on like a bit of a sort of side project at the moment as well, which is like addressing a problem that I've seen in the like mortgage broker space.
Okay.
And that's like, I'm not a mortgage broker, but I've dealt with mortgage brokers before. And I'm like, all right, there's a problem here. And so like I've gone out and I've validated the problem and like spoken to mortgage brokers, and I continue to, because I want to be able to, you know, help them solve this particular problem. And so I feel like you don't necessarily need to actually be in the business that your customers are in to be able to help them solve the problems that they're having.
Jasper, would you say that's your superpower?
I'd just say that's my motivation. I mean, like it's the way I think about the world. Like, you know, I'm very sort of analytical and solutions oriented, and like people who know me, you know, accuse me of being maybe overly pragmatic. But I think in this situation, that's actually a good thing.
Hey, in the business context, I certainly think that one of your strongest traits is in your ability to evaluate somebody's position and make a recommendation. So, mate, I just love the effort that you're putting into this. It's inspiring to see how driven you are and everything that you're doing to just create better outcomes. Totally love it, mate. And maybe if we could take a different angle on this for a second, love to talk about your experience as a founder. Like you said, you started developing this back in October, and you know now it's been, let's say, nearly a year. How are you feeling, mate? What's the experience been like for you?
I feel like I can't do anything else now. Like, I feel like I love it so much. I mean, it's hard. You know, it's not like, you know, you're working 9 to 5. It's like I wake up at 4 a.m. and I work pretty much, you know, consistently until I go to bed. But I also have freedom to, you know, spend time with my daughter. You know, like so, but like I feel like, you know, it's demanding, but in the best possible way, because you know, I'm helping people solve problems. I'm not like a cog in a machine, which I have felt like in the past. And I've worked at big organizations, and, you know, I can work with the people that I want to work with and, you know, shape a culture which I think works best. And so I love being a founder. I've like, before I did my MBA, I had like 3 cracks at business. Basically, 2 of them were just as like sole trader freelancers. And one of them was more of a kind of like, there was a manufacturing element to it and stuff like that. And the freelance thing was just like, you know, basically just constantly scrounging for work. Well, not even scrounging, that's probably not the right word to use, but like, you know, it's like job after job, and like you need to find the next job, or else you need to get a job working for somebody else. And I've felt like, you know, those, I don't really feel like those were kind of me being a founder. That was like me surviving on a skill set that I had. And with the other one, it was me just sort of like doing something because I was bored during COVID, but I hadn't, like, the MBA really set me up. Business school, believe it or not, is very, very useful if you want to go into business, because it really does equip you with like a certain mindset and a certain skill set that you are getting a pretty high level thing, like read on all of them, but you can kind of go down rabbit holes and learn how to be really good at the things that they're teaching you too. So yeah, and I think that's really helped me be a founder this time around.
Love it. And yeah, maybe it wasn't right the first time or the second time, but mate, I feel like you found it. Third time's a charm. So yeah, I love your passion for this, Jasper. And I'd love to ask too, like, what are some of the ways that you give yourself self-care? Like, what are some of the things that you do to look after yourself and make sure that you've got balance?
Sorry, I just dropped out, or you just dropped out?
Oh, that's all right. I saw a little glitch happen. It happens all the time. I was just going to ask, mate, what are you doing in terms of self-care, looking after yourself and making sure that you've got the energy to keep going?
I'm quite partial to a nap in the middle of the day. I walk a lot. I lift weights. I was going to the gym and doing lots of cardio and like running and stuff like that, but I've like re-aggravated an old knee injury.
Oh, no.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Oh.
I'm too old. I feel like I just turned 40, but it's just like I feel like I can't like run anymore without it. Actually, I feel like something bad's going to happen here, and you get all in your head. So I'm like,
yeah.
I cook as well. I love cooking, and that's like.
Have you got a specialty dish?
I've got many, but I don't know. I just like anything. I love cooking Greek food. I love cooking Middle Eastern food. I really like been playing this game with my daughter, like where like she looks on the globe, like we have a globe, and she like points to a country, and then we kind of cook something from that country together. And
hey man, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's a good way to like learn about the world. I love learning about different parts of the world through eating their food. And so I feel like that is definitely self-care.
100%.
And yeah.
So I love it, mate. I didn't realize you were so cultured. You're almost like the Anthony Bourdain of business.
Oh, well, that does look like a fun job.
Well, mate, is there anything exciting coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Yes. Well, we have a white paper coming out. It's like the first IntegraStack white paper. It's the 2025 SME Cybersecurity Pulse Check. Had to just look at my other screen to get the full title of that. Because
what's it about?
It is essentially the findings of a survey that we did with SMEs in relation to what they are doing in terms of cybersecurity and what they feel like they are doing well and what they feel like they can improve on. And it's really insightful. So we're going to be putting that out tomorrow. I am going to be working in Sydney from August for probably like 10 weeks as part of the Antler residency as well. So we're really going to stress test the IntegraStack concept. And really can't wait for that. I've been having calls with people in my cohort, previous cohort people as well over the last few days. And like everyone's just super interesting. They bring a whole like different like skill set to everything. Like these are founders, they're hungry, they want to do stuff. Definitely the sort of people that I want to be around. So yeah, that starts in August. IntegraStack, just building, constantly building.
Always exciting, mate. You got 3 massive projects going on. So yeah, it's fantastic. Can't wait to read the report that comes out tomorrow. Of course, I'll be sharing it all across my socials. And hoping to bring as much traffic to it as possible. So yeah, I love supporting you, Jasper. And you also talked about Sydney. So I want to ask you a fun curveball question. Now get ready. Talking Sydney, talking a bit of nightlife. You know King's Cross with the
I know it well.
The big Coke billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Very iconic, right? Nearly everyone in Australia knows that spot. So if you were going to get that for Integrity Stack, what would you put on it? What would it say?
We've actually, part of our branding process, we did branding. We did our whole branding with Hepatahi from Tire Designs, and like part of his like delivery of our brand was a billboard.
Okay.
And it says, "You're smart, don't do your own research."
I love it.
And and so I feel like that would be it, right?
Like a short, sharp 1-2.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So
you're not actually getting punched. It's more like a kiss.
that's what. Look, yeah, I really wanted to, have messaging with this business, which is disruptive and slightly antagonistic, because it reflects the frustration I have at what's currently out there, and the frustration that businesses have with the way things currently are. So,
love it. It's a bit edgy, but it's also nice.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my core values too, is being kind to people, right? So sometimes it's not always about being nice, but it's about being kind. And the classic example is like if someone's got spinach in their teeth, I would be so embarrassed if you told me, and I'd be like, oh, that wasn't very nice, because now I feel horrible. But I'd be like, actually, he was pretty kind, because now I've saved myself future embarrassment,
Exactly.
And that's, I think, part of your messaging too. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Jasper, I've really enjoyed this session, mate. It's been awesome to learn more about you as a person, and also your mission and your objectives with Integrity Stack. I'm super pumped for you, mate, and I just can't wait to see your growth. Is there anything else that you'd like to shout out before we wrap it up?
No, just thank you so much for your time, Mitch. And it's like onwards and upwards, right?
Always growing, mate. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our community. Of course, Jasper is in our Newcastle business community, where I host amazing events. I host once per week. Actually, tonight we're going live on Zoom at 7 p.m. for a networking event. And also tomorrow night, I've launched a new format. So we'll be catching up at the Modus Brewery in Merriweather from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. Every other week, there's an event on. So love having Jasper as part of our community. Total legend, super inspiring, great guy to go to for any sort of feedback on your business or in your tech decisions. Thanks so much. Please connect with him, and we shall see.